This picture is by Willem van der Velde the Younger, and it shows a British man of war in a storm. It dates from about 1680, and it's one of the first detailed images we have of a British warship of the late 17th century. It was one of the new battleships that was built by the Royal Navy in the Greenwich Deptford shipyards in 1677, where a fleet of fighting ships was built essentially to protect the commercial interests of Britain and its growing empire, and particularly to dominate the trade routes of the North Sea and the passage to the West Indies, which was highly disputed with other European nations at the time. So the creation of a fleet seen as an important step towards securing British interests, not only in Northern Europe but around the world. The ship we see here is an example really of marine technology at its highest. These ships were light, maneuverable, but also heavily armed with 70 cannon. The picture here shows a ship with the sails down. The sails have been trimmed in order for the ship to cope with this storm that it's riding out. And you can see the tempestuous seas raging all around it. The helmsman is bringing the ship's bow round to face into the wind, and the foresail has been allowed to flap free so that there's no forward momentum. But the sail at the rear of the ship is kept vertical in order to give steerability, additional steerability to this craft. Van der Velde was invited to this country by Charles II in order to depict these new ships. There was no other artist in England of equal stature, and the Dutch painters were the masters, if you like, of marine painting. So Charles invited one of the most prominent Dutch artists, Van der Velde, to come and settle in England, gave him a studio in the Queen's House of Greenwich, and invited him then to start portraying these warships. The detailed drawings of many of these paintings still exist and are kept at Greenwich in the National Maritime Museum, and they demonstrate Van der Velde's supreme knowledge of marine architecture. He understood every nut and bolt of these ships, and he went to the shipyards and watched them being assembled and built. He also looked at the drawings for them, the construction diagrams, so he had an intimate knowledge of things like rigging, of the way in which the ship was crewed and controlled, and also the appearance of the ships themselves. It's a brand new fighting ship. It's probably HMS Lennox, or possibly HMS Hampton Court, which were virtual sort of sister ships built in 1677 around the same time. So here we have this fabulous picture of this ship in the teeth of a storm, with its pennants flying and its gun ports open. Now, in reality, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't open your gun ports in the middle of a storm. But the artist here has taken a bit of freedom, a bit of license, in order to demonstrate the strength of the ship as a warship. It's got those gun ports open, and the cannon are all bristling out of the side. So it's this great, menacing, rather dangerous looking ship. I suppose it's difficult for us to see these paintings in the way in which people saw them in the 1680s. For us, they're rather quaint relics of a bygone technology. But in their day, these were the equivalent of a modern day aircraft carrier. People would have looked at them in the same way as we look at the if you like, military technology today.